Great chase indeed. Now, top seed Leon Els won his second airports company South African Bloem Open men's singles title. This one to beat rival Marshall Marsh in straight sets at the Oud Studente Tennis Club in Bloemfontein Wednesday. Meanwhile, women's #1 seed Mariska Venter and quad player Danny Mohlamonyane also claimed final victories to retain their women's and quad singles titles respectively to make it, well, a fantastic competition for the top seeds at the ITF Futures event in Mangaung, also known as Bloemfontein. Joining us now from our Bloem studios is Leon Els himself. Leon, thank you very much for joining us on Sports in Prime. I know this was supposed to be done yesterday, but we had technical problems. You're here now. Let's start right there. Not too shabby for that victory of yours. Quick hour or so, 6-love, 6-1?
Yes, the final you can never take lightly, so I played my best, executed my game plan well, so it panned out in my favor.
Speak to us about, that match of yours, because, I mean, immediately afterwards, then you went to go play with Marsh in the doubles as well.
Yes, he's a very good player. He's very respected amongst the international community, and I'm honored to have him as a doubles partner as well.
Now, take us through, wheelchair tennis in South Africa. I mean, it seems to be on the up and up. We're seeing more and more competitions like the one that, the Bloem Open that you just won. ACSA coming in, Airports Company South Africa, the sponsorship they've done, they've actually put you guys in the map because, it is a growing sport. I see it every now and then, especially when you go to the likes of Soweto. Tell us about the sport. How far is it in as far as you would like it to be and where it is right now compared to the rest of the world, if I can put it that way?
I think we're very fortunate in South Africa, due to many factors, people working behind the scenes, guys from Wheelchair Tennis South Africa is doing a very good job in developing, our sport behind the scenes, and that's all made possible by our main sponsor, ACSA, Airports Company South Africa, that gives us as athletes the ability to live out our dreams, going to play abroad. You can do this professionally, and there's also lots of development being done for for people starting in the sport, and it's changing lives.
I'm looking. I think of the guys of Lucas is one of probably two. I think it's what, 2 championships or opens that he's won. So, and yourself, 38th in the world, is still much to do, but again, it's the competitiveness of the sport in itself. Earlier this year, in fact, a couple of months ago, you were in Rio for the Paralympic Games. Tell us about that.
Yes, we came back about 3 weeks ago. It was a great experience. It's it's the biggest stage in the world, and it was a huge honor to represent my country at the Paralympics.
You're looking at your record earlier. Current year singles record stands at 25 wins, 17 losses. Plenty still to play for, or is it end of the season for you in particular with these series victories?
Excuse me?
I'm saying I'm looking at your current standings. Your singles record currently this year stands at 25 victories and 17 losses. What does the season look for you? It's been a busy one as far as having to even go to Rio. You've been pretty busy.
Yes, in the Olympic year, you have to play a lot of tournaments to keep your ranking up, to qualify. It's really tough out there to qualify to go to Rio. So in the year leading up to this year, I played every 2 weeks, tournaments across the world. It's very competitive as well. So yeah, busy, but it's fun, and I love to do this. I'm living my dream. So very privileged and fortunate to be able to do this.
And now, as far as the game, I know you touched on it earlier. As far as the game is concerned, you mentioned something in your previous answer, if it could be a full-time job per se, basically thinking of a mini league or a league, so to speak, because in other countries, it is a professional job. You don't have to be doing something on the side. You literally stick to what you're doing, being a sportsman. How far is it, in South Africa? I know we've got our challenges, but again, that's something that you'd like to see to grow the sport first and foremost, and to be a world contender like your fellow athletes.
Yeah, of course. Overseas, it's wheelchair tennis is very popular. There's corporate sponsors. There's lots of interest in the sport. The people are doing it professionally. We in South Africa as well. We take this very seriously, and we're very fortunate to have good sponsors to fund our trips, so that we can be able to do this, so that we can dedicate our full time to the sport. And I think, you know, if you look at the last 10 years, the sport has grown so much in South Africa. Like, I think we have 500 men players in South Africa. I don't know what's the total, but that's really good. I think that growed a lot in the last 10 years. And this, every time, like at this tournament, there's some youngsters coming through, you know, putting their hands up, working hard. There's lots of potential. So I think the future has the sport has a bright future.
Yeah, speaking about that future, I mean, we always speak about Davis Cup, we always speak about these major tournaments. Do you think it'll get to that stage at one stage here in South Africa we have something similar to a Davis Cup kind of like setup for wheelchair tennis?
We already have something similar to Davis Cup.
Yeah.
We call it World Team Cup. So once a year, you know, we have something similar to Davis Cup. We go World Team Cup. So this year it was in Tokyo. So then you represent your country, and all the countries from across the world that qualified is there, and you play in team, like in a team format. 2 singles and then the doubles like Davis Cup, and then the best out of 3 wins the tie.
I always forget to ask these questions. For viewers watching at home right now, they're watching some of the matches that you've played. I think this was in Mauritius, some of the pictures we have on television right now. To get there as an athlete, especially on a wheelchair, it takes that extra oomph. And we always know that athletes such as yourself, and I know professional athletes, they tell me, I'm not different. It's an impediment, I have it, I've lived with it, don't feel sorry for me. But you guys put in that extra effort all the time, and flying the flag for South Africa is a boost for most of you. In fact, I've never seen prouder people than most people when I do Paralympics, for example.
Yes, no, it's being taken very seriously. Paralympics, there's huge competitiveness in the Paralympics. It's like the crowds are full. There's huge interest as well in there. So it's a privilege for us as athletes to be able to showcase our talents in front of the world, and to be able to it takes a lot of work, like any highly competitive sport, if it's now a Paralympic sport or able-bodied sport. Like for instance, you train the whole day, so it's a lot of a lot of effort going into making it, and then you have to keep your ranking up by traveling the world and to stay competitive, not to get behind.
First time qualifier for Paralympics, still young, 20 odd years. I'm not going to say you're full years, but you're still very young. You're looking to get those rankings down. Obviously, the lower your rankings, the better the pay. Where do you see, for yourself? Obviously everyone has goals. This year for you, what's the plan, and thereafter?
This year, this was my last tournament for this year. I may be thinking of playing the Mauritius tournament, but for now it's done. So from January I'll look at my schedule and then plan ahead again. We're already trying to think to Tokyo already. So I'll see how it looks next year and then choose my tournaments accordingly. But of course I want to be the best in the world. My ranking should drop. I would love to be in top 20 at the end of next year, what I think is very, very possible.
Leon Els, thank you very much for speaking to us from our Bloem offices. In fact, our Bloem studios, wishing the best of luck. In fact, I prefer seeing you in the top 10 and somewhere possibly fighting for the #1 spot with Lucas Sichole. Thank you very much indeed. Leon Els speaking to us from our Bloem offices. Wheelchair tennis player, also just won the Bloem Open in Mangaung yesterday. That was Wednesday. Thank you very much there, Leon.